Hey guys, Don here, letting you know that the Open Cut podcast is now available on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. We'll be on your devices and apps of preference, so check us out. Here's the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are now in the cut.
Welcome to the Open Cut MMA podcast.
This is Thursday, June 20th. We're almost 2 weeks removed now from UFC 238, which was a hell of an event. Just this past weekend, though, Bellator had a fight card in Madison Square Garden, and I would say this is one of the biggest Bellator cards that they've had that I can remember. We're going to start there today. Like I said, this is at Madison Square Garden. It had pretty much everything you could ask for. The main event was semifinals in their welterweight Grand Prix. It had big names with Lyoto Machida and Chael Sonnen going at it. It had a cross-promotional fight with the bantamweight champion of Bellator fighting the bantamweight champion of Ryzen. A couple young guys coming up, Dylan Dennis and Aaron Pico were both on the card. So overall, this checked all the boxes. I think it was a Friday night, which is a little bit goofy, but other than that, this was as good as it gets for Bellator. Let's start with the main event. Rory McDonald defeated Neiman Gracie. Rory looked, I thought, better than he did against Fitch. He's going to move on now to the finals of that welterweight Grand Prix to rematch Douglas Lima, who he initially took the belt from when he first came over to Bellator. What do you think about Rory going forward? There was that issue with him after the Fitch fight, which was a draw, but he moved forward because he was the champion. He was talking afterwards about how he wasn't sure he wanted to fight anymore, didn't want to hurt people. It seemed like he was in his own head. Do you think he's out of it now, or do you think that's still with him?
Well, one, welcome back, because it's been too long to talk about this. This is a lot of information for a lot of guys right now. And one, I think a perfect example of what you said earlier, Rory McDonald was not done with MMA. He showed it this night. He took control of Neiman Gracie, who, very talented, lot of respect in that sport, made him, like you said, he looked better than the Lima fight. Now coming back to fight Lima again after Lima had the big knockout against MVP, I don't think I can at all even think who's going to win this again. This is another one of those that these guys are both at the highest level. They're both on a roll. They're both fighting well. Yeah, I agree. I think Rory looked a ton better than the John Fitch fight. He looked more loose. He did not look as Robbie Lawler fight-ish that he used to.
No, that's tough to get back to.
That stuff is hard, but with him, overall, his game plan and just overall footwork, everything, I think he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I think Rory McDonald is one of the best welterweights in the world. I think Douglas Lima is one of the best welterweights in the world,
pound for pound, probably your top 5 170ers ever now.
But he's not, I still don't think he is what he was in the UFC. So there is still that gap there. I think this is going to be a fantastic fight against Douglas Lima. I guess what I was most impressed about with Rory was he was not shying away from grappling with Gracie.
He wasn't scared.
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is named after you, but he was ready to go. He looked good in all facets of the game. I'm not worried about him anymore, at least mentally. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win against Douglas Lima. I'd pick him to win, but it's a fight, and Douglas Lima is a pretty damn good fighter.
Yeah, so. Man, I don't think this is going to be one that's going to go to decision, I don't think, because both these guys are on the finishing speed right now, so I'm scared for Rory because I know Rory's tough. But
Rory has been putting people away lately.
Yeah, and that's what worries me is with Lima, after seeing what he did to MVP and how dangerous MVP is that does the same stuff, that momentum right now could help him basically redeem himself and get that belt back. But I'm going to love that. That's a great way to end the Grand Prix for the welterweight for sure. So That's a badass fight.
Yeah, I think this whole tournament I've enjoyed more than the heavyweight Grand Prix. The one hiccup
way more
going into that finale is I think Bellator wants it maybe in July or something like that, and Rory wants it in like November. So they're going to have to compromise somewhere. We'll see where it goes. I'm sure Douglas Lima's trying to get. He's had a longer layoff than Rory, and I think he probably feels that the sooner he gets in, the better for him. So we'll see where they end on that. But that was the main event this past weekend. Co-main event, Lyoto Machida, Chael Sonnen. Lyoto Machida finishes Chael Sonnen. and finishes him for good, it sounds like. Chael ended up retiring after the fight, which is appropriate. He's like 43 or something like that now. He's too old to be fighting at that level. He's got so much other stuff going on outside of the cage that he's not going to be hurting for money. He's still going to be involved with the sport, but he doesn't need to be fighting, which is fine. It's not a bad one to go out on. Getting a fight against Lyoto Machida is a good fight to get if you're looking at legacy. Speaking of, what is Chael's legacy now?
Yeah, he's got a lot of different legacies because he was always known as the trash talker, the dick, the bad boy. But then I look back at the legacy of the guys as he's fought, and even his last fight is against the Dragon, Machida, who looked 10 years younger than Chael that night, throwing the flying knees and just all over him. But the amount of people, Anderson Silva. Twice. Anybody in that division at that time knew exactly who Chael Sonnen was, and he was hurting a lot of people. He was making a name. He started the early trash talking before you had the Conor trash talking. It was the more comical, and it's like a setup to him. But the whole reason, that's why people know him.
Yeah,
he made a name for himself, and also he can fight his name. Also, winning big matches, being in there with the toughest guys in those weight classes. I think he's got the legacy of exactly what he is. He's a chameleon. There's nobody else you can compare to Chael Sonnen. And look, like you said, he's doing his own podcast. He's got his own products. He's out promoting himself outside the ring. Perfect time to move on. And yeah, I think Chael, I never liked his style of fighting, but it was obviously very dominant and very winning. So
two things. First of all, I'm a little bit surprised you didn't mention PEDs at all. Talking about Chael Sonnen's legacy.
Yeah.
The second thing is, it seemed like he was always one step short. He almost beat Silva the first time. The second time it wasn't that competitive. I mean, it just seems like he was always not quite to where he wanted to be. Always top level fighter, but never the guy. Which he's going to go down as he was never a world champion.
No.
And like I said, the other thing that comes to mind when I think of Chael Sonnen immediately, in my mind at least, is PEDs. And I don't think it's tarnishing his legacy. It's weird because other people you think of, like to me, Barry Bonds, and immediately I think of, cheat.
Yep.
And I dismiss him. Chael Sonnen almost embraced it and has gotten past all of the bad connotations that come with it. And it's just like, oh yeah, that was a phase of my life, and now I am a resource for people moving forward. It's interesting how he spun it, but I don't think you can separate him from that.
No, you can't ever, because it happened. Once something like that happens in that sport, but that's very interesting you say that, because a lot of people probably have the same feeling as Chael Sonnen, PEDs, cheating, steroids, whatever you want to call it, that's always going to be with his name. So that's very interesting you say that, because he does have a great fighting legacy, but there's always that asterisk.
Right.
And there's that asterisk. Just like Barry Bonds and McGuire, like you said, you'll always be part of you.
Part of it. To me, it is.
That's very interesting.
Lyoto Machida. So he's coming off this win against Chael. He's talking about going after belts. So he's looking at Mousasi and Ryan Bader.
That's two really scary guys to call out.
It is. But Lyoto Machida is scary.
He's also a scary man.
He is years past his prime. We know that. But I'm not going to say he can't. Gegard Mousasi's past his prime, that's for sure.
Well, I don't even think Gegard's past his prime. I think Gegard's prime got cut short for two reasons. One, he's been fighting professionally since he was like 18 at the highest fucking level, between Pride, Dream, all of that.
He's been fighting forever.
And then now he's 31, which a lot of times they say is the beginning of your
he's
peaking.
Old 31 now.
Yeah, a peaking Pride. But look how many fights on his record, and then look at the guys he's matching up and the guys that he is fucking flatlined. But here's the other reason. Because what we talked about before, UFC hung him around for a long time, didn't give him a title shot. He didn't get the title shot with the Weidman situation. So then he's like, why am I here? I just beat everybody in this division, but you're not giving me a chance when other guys have got the chance quicker. So his career has been fucked twice by basically either promotion or because he's just been fighting so long.
Yeah, he's one that I was really sad to see leave the UFC.
That was tough.
Ryan Bader, I wasn't sad to see leave, but now I'd love to see what he can do against some of the guys there.
There's a perfect example of somebody that's come into their own prime. Ryan Bader is not the same Ryan Bader that was in the UFC. He was putting people out. He was hurting people like Machida and everything else, but now he has looked untouchable.
He's a much better fighter
in Bellator all around. And yeah, he fought Fedor when he was a little bit older and whatever. He still knocked him out.
Yeah,
he still won. He also
Bader went to the finals.
Exactly.
So he was still beating other heavyweights.
He's showing everything on the mat. He doesn't need to do anything legacy-wise, because if you look at Ryan Bader's record from UFC, you're like, okay, he was pretty decent heavyweight at that time and light heavyweight. At this point, there's no question what he's done in Bellator. He is stomped from the minute he come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, been very dominant. So which direction do you think is better for Machida to go in?
Between those two gentlemen?
Yeah.
I think with the randomness that Mousasi can bring, very much like Machida, you know, how they'll throw a flying knee or spinning heel kick or a front kick. Ryan's not going to do as much of that. Ryan's going to try to hit you with power. I think Machida would be better with Ryan because he knows he only has one or two real big tools that could hurt him. Mousasi try to catch him coming in, basically, like he did prior.
Right.
That's what he did in UFC.
That happened.
That actually happened.
Yeah.
I think with Mousasi, he's going to be like, I know what Ryan can do. Mousasi, I don't know, because he's that dangerous and has a lot of tools that he throws in a blink of an eye. Ryan's going to come at you pretty obvious and hope to get you with something monster that just takes you out. So I think he'd be better off fighting Ryan to be able to win. But either fight, if that actually happens, good Lord. Mm-hmm. You talk about a legacy fight.
And I think it needs to happen. I think Machida needs to make a run at one of those two belts. I'm not going to tell him which one it is. I think either one is going to be fantastic to watch. And I mean, if he loses his next fight, then he's out of the run. I don't think that he's not getting a title fight his next fight, but I think he's a one or two away. It's just going to be him weighing what he wants to do. I guess at this point in his age, I'd be thinking it'd be easier for him to do light heavyweight than it would be to cut down to middleweight. But
sure,
he's a professional fighter. I'm sure he can do it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest stories I thought coming out of this Bellator card is the bantamweight title fight between Kyoji Horiguchi and Darion Caldwell. Not because I was super excited to watch the fight, just from what it represented and what possibilities could be there moving forward now that we have these kind of cross-promotional bouts. Kyoji Horiguchi is the bantamweight champion in Rizin. Darion Caldwell was the bantamweight champion in Bellator. This was a Bellator event that Rizin lent their fighter to, and now Kyoji Horiguchi is the bantamweight champion in both Rizin and Bellator, and he wants to take Cejudo down too and take all three.
This is exactly what was said would never happen in the UFC, is now happening in other promotions that are almost to the UFC. And think about this. Rizin doesn't do the same drug testing as Bellator and the UFC does. And they still allowed this to go on. It was still a wonderful fight.
Well, it's a Bellator fight, so all the Bellator rules would apply.
The Bellator rules apply, so no one's being cheated out. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, look at the talent level you will be able to bring into another promotion to have a great fight on a card that would never happen in any other organization. This is a great stepping stone. The fight was great. I loved seeing Caldwell come out. He was on the ground, double leg, throwing the elbows into his face, hard as shit, beating him out. If you would have watched the beginning, you would have thought Caldwell was going to end up putting him away, and then turned around and won that fight wearing him down. That is a perfect first cross promotion for everybody to see how it works.
Yeah, I hope that people
pay attention,
see that, and try and make it work in other instances. Two other fights that I think are worth mentioning. Dylan Dennis defeated Max Humphrey in a first-round submission. He had fucked up his knee not too long before the fight. It was only a second MMA fight. He is now 2-0 as a professional. So that's moving in the right direction for him, and then moving in the opposite direction's Aaron Pico.
Yeah, I mean, one with Dennis. Dennis is very just unique because his stature, his style, his background, none of it really looks at to be an enjoyable, watchable fighter or a successful winning fighter. But it shows the talent and tiers of jiu-jitsu.
Very high level jiu-jitsu.
Don't get me wrong. The Conor promotion and knowing he's with Conor and working with him obviously helped his stock a lot as being noticed by the public. But Dylan, attitude, he's just a fucking savage with one tool. But the tool has it's a Swiss Army knife tool. Every single move in jiu-jitsu he can pull on you before you even come close to knowing how to get out of it. And it showed here. He overwhelmed Humphreys, just got on top of him, double-legged him into the fence, crawled up him like a caterpillar, waited, found out which submission he could get him in, put him in it, beat him from the ground with hammer fist just to get him into the next position. He's not about just grabbing a limb Frank Mir style and ripping it off. He wants to get you in the exact position he wants, because once he locks the hooks in, it's over.
Yeah, we haven't seen much from him yet, but what we have seen,
high level.
He's looking like, and he can only add to his game. I think he's just going to get better. It's tough to say that we've watched him improve, but even in this one-round fight, I feel like you can tell he is more comfortable. He is looking better.
He's looking more.
Aaron Pico,
on the other hand,
yeah, he's now coming off of his second knockout loss in a row. He came into the sport as one of the highest touted prospects we've seen, and now he's 4-3.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it also that hurt him, not in a negative way, just hurts when you lose like this, is he was training with TJ Dillashaw. He was training with TJ Dillashaw's coaches. He's building off a guy that just got popped for PEDs. He's a guy that's young coming in that had all this pressure on his shoulders that, you're the next big thing. You're doing crazy things in this sport. I'm not saying one certain thing or all of them at all, but it really sucks to see a guy that this fight kind of happened like the last one. He got a little too aggressive, impatient, and
looked good,
wonderful.
And then he wasn't. Yeah.
And then that's the thing about when you have a guy young and hungry like that, sometimes they're too good for their own will. And I think that's what happened is he's like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to get back what I lost. And it got him right back to where he was again, got caught. And the problem is, Pico's not that old, and he's not very old in this sport. He's taken a ton of chin damage early out.
Yeah, he's only like 21 or 22.
That chin's not going to get any harder getting into his career. So if he wants to keep lasting, I would hope get some other facets in the game, some other mythology on how you're going to win the fight instead of always banging. Because apparently it's not working out well once you get to this level.
Yeah, it looked like he came out trying to wrestle, and then it kind of the fight got away from him. I also heard that he's now switched coaches. He's going with Jackson Wink.
Terrific choice.
That'll pay off. It just didn't have time to make an effect for this one. So hopefully they teach him how to, because he's got all the tools. He's fantastic
it's all there.
Wrestler. He's got the striking. He just needs to learn how to put it together in an MMA fight, and that's what we've not seen recently.
Taking that flying knee going in for he shouldn't even been in that position, I would think, at his level. But again, this is a growing guy, so plenty of time. I hope he can get a streak going, man, because he's fun to watch.
Get some wins under
he's
his belt,
fun to watch.
Get some confidence built, and then hopefully we can move from there and see how he does. So that was the Bellator card. Like I said, this is a strong card for Bellator. Let's move it back a week and talk about that UFC 238 card in Chicago. This was a huge card. There's 21 ranked fighters on the card. I don't know if that's a record, but it sure as hell
sounds like it.
Yeah. Headlined by Henry Cejudo and Marlon Moraes. Henry Cejudo got the finish in the third round. Became the fourth champ in UFC history to simultaneously hold two belts. Dana White has said that he has saved the flyweight division. He is now calling himself Triple C, because he's a champion in wrestling, and he is the flyweight and the bantamweight champions. I bet on Marlon Moraes in this fight. I really was confident on Marlon. Looking back on it, though, hindsight being 2020, all the signs pointing to Henry. It's easy to see now, but this year, favorites in UFC main events are 7-11. The underdogs are winning most of the time. The ones that haven't have been like champions most of the time.
Yeah.
Also, when we have these champion versus champion fights with guys moving up a division or down a division to try and take two belts, every single time the lower weight division guy has won. The one exception is Max Holloway. Every other time, Conor moved up and he beat Eddie.
Yep.
DC moved up, he beat Stipe. Amanda Nunes moved up. She beat Chris Cyborg. TJ Dillashaw moved down and lost to Henry Cejudo, who was from the lower weight division. Like we said, Max Holloway was the exception. He lost when he moved up to fight Dustin Poirier. And now Henry Cejudo moved up to fight Marlon Moraes. So in almost every single instance, the lighter guy or the guy from the lighter division,
the lower division weight class,
has won. We've also had all of the betting underdogs have been winning.
What a stat!
And you look back at Henry's fight against DJ, and that kind of was reminiscent of this, the mindset of he got his ankle rolled early in the fight, kind of overcame that, and really just won it with heart more than anything. And that's kind of what this one looked like.
Yeah, what I, looking back now, very much like you said, you can't say it because you can't go back in time, but the social media pictures of how jacked and ripped he was, the anger face he had on his face, everything was going Henry's way, and I think it was just inevitable that Henry just was prepared. He had a determination. He was going to win that. I mean, the amount of inside calf and leg kicks that Marlon landed, destroying his right leg, for him to still stay in there with that, not be that compromised, and to get the finish that the way he did, I think he just knew you don't have the gas tank and the will that I do. And I mean, it's amazing, one, that stat you just pulled with all the lower guys. Henry is making a name for the little guys, the lower guys, that we can still bang out, we can still conquer all of this. And, I know he's talking a lot. A lot of people are giving him crap for, talking about all his gold medals and Triple C and all this bullshit. It's a fact. So you have to own up and say, yes, we do get it. You may be annoying, but he is right. This guy is doing things that nobody else has done. And the thing now is even calling out the featherweights, trying to move up to there. Who gives a shit? People are going to want to watch that type of crazy shit. If they're watching the stuff in Bellator, they're sure as fuck going to watch a guy that normally fights at flyweight fight at featherweight, because it'd be really amazing if he actually beat someone at featherweight. Would that not be a fucking story? That's what he just did in the Bantam division. After doing it to TJ, who came down to him. So Henry is exactly where he should be because he's doing everything right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he stopped talking. I think he is crazy annoying. But yeah,
I will agree.
How do you tell him to shut up when he's winning everything? So Marlon, on his side of it, I thought he obviously came out, looked strong in the first round.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't think it was a 10-8 round, but he definitely was laying the hurt down, and he had ill intent behind everything, which is probably what led to him gassing out. He was just trying
the switch
too
flipped.
hard. Yeah, going too hard the whole time. And there was Henry caught him in the clinch in that third round, and it was like Marlon didn't know what to do, or he was too tired to do anything about it, and was just eating knees until the fight was over. To me, I think Marlon. Hell, if they ran this back, I'd pick Marlon again. To be honest, I don't. Maybe it's me, but I think he is going to be back. He needs to step back and figure out why the game plan went wrong, how he bounces back from that. But I think he's going to be fine. It's just I think it's more of a testament to Henry Cejudo's heart and his willpower than anything.
I think that's the one thing, like what I was just talking about, and you hit it on the nail on the head there, is it was all heart and determination. Henry was going to do whatever it took to win that because he wanted it that bad. The other obvious thing is there is nothing that Marlon needs to go back and tune up hard. You know he needs to tune up? One really simple thing. Cardio. You know why? Looking at his record, he had a decision loss that went 3 rounds with John Dobson, which John Dobson is known to go 3 rounds and be fine, but he's always a decision master. Marlon might not have to throw out as much.
Marlon lost that fight?
No, he won that fight.
Yeah,
what I'm getting at is that was his only 3-round fight. That was back in 2017.
Finishing everyone in the first round.
He's finishing everybody in the first round, so he's not being tested constantly with the cardio tank. If I kick someone in the face in 30 seconds into a fight, it's probably not going to be the same outcome as me going 5 rounds with another champ. This was a perfect example of Henry knew he had a better tank, and he utilized it. So I think with Marlon is get the cardio, get the tank up. I mean, the guy is absolutely shredded and out of his mind. Get it to where you don't gas out. You go right back in. This fight could be possibly the other side. Henry gets put away.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Could be. Yeah. You think the flyweights stay? You think Dana's lying through his teeth, or?
You know, we've seen a lot of when Dana says one thing and another thing happens. That's its own story. But I think, honestly, if he has enough balls to say on national television and quote that Henry might have saved the flyweight that night, if that gets the flyweight another year and we get a bunch of great fights and maybe even some guys from flyweight come over to Bantam that we've talked about, or they get some higher level fights, then Henry did his job. even if the flyweights go away, he just extended their life, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see them keeping the flyweight division, to be honest.
No, and I don't disagree with you. I think this just gave a longer life to it instead of saying if Henry would have got cleaned up that night, Dana might have said, here's a perfect example why we don't keep the flyweight division around, because guys in flyweight shouldn't be fighting guys of this size. There's not many guys in this size, just like we talked about with featherweight women. Let's just get rid of it. There's more people in this division called the Bantam.
Yeah, I think actions speak a whole lot louder than words.
They always do.
They've been cutting everyone.
Yeah.
The other thing is Henry is now, I mean, he called out all those people after the fights, right? He's talking about he wants to go to featherweight. He wants to fight Cody Garbrandt,
Cruz,
Dominic
Faber.
Cruz, Uriah Faber. Those are all bantamweights. He hasn't said a damn thing about the flyweight division. He doesn't have any interest in going to flyweight. He doesn't want to cut 10 more pounds. I think that they're keeping it so that he owns 2 belts. Now he's going to undergo surgery. He's probably not going to fight
6 months.
Yeah, he's not going to fight
Minimum.
For the rest of 2019.
He might not fight.
They've had 3 consecutive number 1 contender fights in the flyweight division, and he hasn't been there to challenge him. I just don't see how the flyweights stick around. They're going to make all of them move up. I think Dana White was just saying that to try and make Henry Cejudo a double, or I guess now a triple champion, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think he truly saved the flyweights. I don't think he did them any favors by talking about other divisions afterwards.
I think it's an extension. I think that's really what it is.
I don't even see that. I think that.
When do you think? Do you think at the end of the year it's gone? It gets announced in like November into December that they're done.
I'd be surprised if we don't hear before 2020 that the.
That's interesting. That'll be. I mean, hate to say it. If it happens, we'll say, hey, we were right and we were on the tail of it. But at the same time, time will tell. You never know. It could go another year. Things don't get put into place, you know?
Mm-hmm. Co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai was the number 1 contender for sure, and she got put out cold in the second round with a head kick. Valentina Shevchenko looks like a world beater right now at 125. This fight was no different. She just worked her way until she got the finish. The finish was there to take, and she took it hard.
She gave so many monster hammer leg kicks to the body of Jessica Ai that I could not believe she was taking them and standing there. And then once she got her down with the wrestling and just smothered her basically for half of the first round at the end till the bell, probably could have got her in some type of submission or just kept her out there continuously for an entire round, as good a cardio she had. Came back in, kept beating the hell out of the body, got Jessica worried about those big body kicks, went up high, glanced that shin, bounced right off the head, out, double bounce head on the ground, completely limp.
Oh, yeah, she was done.
I mean, fucking just out. I mean, I felt bad for Jessica because, man, she's tough. She's been around. Valentina is just another breed. Like I've joked before, she is the little mini John Jones right now in that division. And I'm telling you, that girl right now, I don't know anybody in the top even 10 that could do anything to that girl that would worry her right now.
The comparison I keep hearing is Demetrius Johnson, because they're both at 125 pounds.
Very similar.
They're both so far ahead of everyone else in the division.
And just clipping them.
Yeah.
Every time somebody comes up to the deck, clip them off. Yep. I really think no one touches her until late in 2020. And the person that does that is probably somebody we haven't even talked about because we'll get someone out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anyone that we're looking at right now. Yeah. It seems like she's so far ahead of everyone. The next one who's going to be at the chance is Liz Carmouche. She was scheduled to fight Roxanne Modafferi in July, but the UFC has pulled her from that card, and she will be challenging Valentina Shevchenko at UFC Uruguay, I believe in August. And they offered the fight to Caitlin Chukagian first. I think she's getting married and the timing didn't work out, so she'll probably get the next shot. But I think at this point, Shevchenko is indicating she wants to be active, so it's a line them up kind of deal.
Yeah, it is.
And so next one in line is Liz Carmouche. Jessica Ai is probably going to be sitting for a bit. It was a pretty vicious knockout, so I can't imagine she's going to be jumping to get back in the ring anytime soon.
That medical suspension is going to be a minute.
The other thing with Liz Carmouche is she gave Shevchenko her first loss. Shevchenko's got losses to Liz Carmouche, and then she's got 2 losses to Amanda Nunes.
So two animals.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly.
This is an opportunity for her to get one of those losses back, and she'll be heavily favored to do so.
Carmouche, that's a very interesting move. You know, that sucks with Montefiore on her side, but Carmouche is getting an opportunity that I'm sure she didn't know would be coming her way. And then obviously you got Montefiore now that's, you know, going to be getting a new opponent. I like the movement in there. I like how quick these movements are in that division like we've talked about. So that just helps that division stay fresh.
And then we talked about this last time, but somehow Tony Ferguson and Cowboy Cerrone was not a main event or a co-main event. It was the third fight from the end here at 238. Tony Ferguson got the TKO finish, but not without controversy. Right before the end of the second round, following the second round,
yep.
He landed a shot right square in Cowboy's face. It was after the bell, but it was before the ref stepped in. Cowboy goes back to his corner. They go out for the third round. Cowboy goes to blow his nose, and that air that he was blowing his nose with ended up puffing up his eye, swelled it shut, and Ferguson was awarded the TKO victory. How do you feel about that?
It sucks. I would have rather seen it be a draw because in this case, Cowboy has an eye injury that he can't even continue with, not from the punch that was landed, but there was a late punch landed. Potentially. There was still contact. Or even if it's not a draw, have a no contest. Or, I mean, the TKO to me sucks because not even record or any of that. I would have rather seen a no contest or a draw because I think this fight should get lined up again. Dana's talked about it. Cowboy, Tony are both cool with it. But these two guys, out of everything that could have happened, that's how it ends. Is Cowboy being a veteran of the sport, forgot one of the oldest veteran tricks ever. If you get hit in the eye and your eye's starting to close, don't do anything nasally. I mean, that eye fucking swelled shut within 30 seconds of doing that. And Cowboy was even saying it. I mean, it's unfortunate because what we talked about and everybody for a long time is we waited for that fight for years. I mean, years.
Yeah.
When they were in different weight classes. And to have that outcome, it not only sucks just to watch, it sucks for them because ton of time preparation. Both of them are on two different paths right now. Tony's been gone, had some issues, had some stuff dealing with injuries, wanted to come back. Cowboy's been on a tear. Life has changed. He's in a positive place. Both of them are at the highest level of their game they've ever been at, I think. Both of them. Honestly, I think both of them are in their fullest prime right now of their fighting, and that's the outcome. But that's the way it works sometimes. I hate to say it, I would have rather seen Cowboy get tapped out or knocked out than walk up there laughing with a closed shut eye. And Tony Ferguson was furious at the post-interview, like, talk to Cowboy, because I just did this and I didn't do my job and we didn't finish the fight. He was pissed for everybody and himself because he knows that just stalled more things in that division.
I don't know that it stalled anything. I'm definitely, it wasn't the way I wanted to see it go down.
Sure.
But I honestly think that it may have saved some years off of Cowboy's life because I think that second round turned hard. I'd give Cowboy the first round, but that second round, it looked like Tony had it figured out, nasty. And it was going to get bad for Cowboy if it kept going.
Real quick, too.
I would have been really disappointed if they would have disqualified Tony Ferguson. It was not the most egregious late hit I've seen. I know.
No, not a disqualification.
The Jermaine Duran to me hits on Holly Holm, that like three of them after bells, after bells, was much worse. This was out. You don't know if there was ill intent behind it or not. If he was trying
it's so fast.
Yeah. But the ref stops the round, not the bell. So he did not do anything illegal. It was just late.
Yep.
The other thing is, I don't see this being a rematch that gets made immediately. Maybe down the road sometime, but I don't know how you give Tony Ferguson another fight that's not a title fight.
You really can't.
You really can't. He's got to get the winner of Dustin and Khabib. I don't know if he's going to. He sure as hell deserves it. I'd love to see him fight Cowboy again, Gaethje, Conor, any of those guys. I want to see the fight, but I don't know how you give Tony Ferguson a fight that's not a championship fight. He's been winning 12 in a row now. He's finishing people. He's putting on entertaining fights. He's finishing fantastic fighters.
High level.
And he's always winning. I would be so disappointed if he doesn't get a title fight next.
It's very interesting on how the gamut and parts move with certain fighters getting certain treatment or certain fighters getting certain opportunities depending on who they are, how they act, whatever. Tony seems to always be one that got the short end of the stick and hasn't complained about it. Really, he's more said, I'm still waiting and I'm being patient, but I need someone to fucking help me out and do something.
They haven't tried, though.
They've
set up that fight with Khabib four times.
The Khabib has been cursed, but I don't think that's anybody's fault. I think the thing that happens is this is just life, and this is also how it works in the fighting community. Tony's just a guy that's not happened to have every single green light when he's going to work. That's the difference. Cowboy. Anybody tells me 5 years ago that Cowboy's going to be fighting at this high level in the lightweight division, I'm telling you, you're full of shit. The nice thing about this is whether this rematch doesn't happen or not, both fights for both guys are going to be monstrous. I think Tony demands, waits, does a Stipe. I deserve the winner. It could be Poirier. Yeah. Probably not going to happen this year. Cowboy does this. I'm not going to be able to redo what I did with Ferguson. That's okay. That's the way the cards were dealt. How about I go fight somebody that everybody loves to see fight and everybody talks about how they love seeing me fight? Justin Gaethje. Yeah. Justin Gaethje does not like Cowboy. He thinks that Cowboy leapfrogged everybody in that division because of his name, and he came back and won one fight against Alex Hernandez, and he beat, Edson Barboza. Well, guess what? So Cowboy beat Edson Barboza. Get two guys that love the trade in there. Fuck. I don't care if I don't ever see a Ferguson Cowboy again because that fight with Gaethje is the same replacement to me.
Yeah. I don't think Cowboy fights anytime soon. He loves fighting a lot, but he's already fought 3 times this year, 4 times since November. This is his 4th fight since November, and he got lit up, lot of head damage in this fight. So I think he steps back, but he's not taking a step back as far as his next opponent goes. No. Yeah, because there's always going to be interest in him against any entertaining striker.
Every time.
And there's in this division, in the lightweight division.
That's how this works.
There's so many guys that just put him against Cowboy. Everyone wants to see it.
Yep.
So he's still going to be up there. He's taking a step back from maybe a title shot. I mean, if he wins this one, he may have gotten a title shot. He's not in that situation anymore. But as far as matchups go, I think the same matchups are still there moving forward. I just think he needs to step away a little bit, get some recovery in. This was coming back so quick after that Ally Aquino fight.
Well, and we talked about that, man. I really think that was a rush. I think even an extra month longer would have made a huge difference on this. And like you said, Cowboy, looking at how he was after that fight and how he's always very happy and excited because he just loves the sport, he's like, hey, it's okay. This is what happens. We'll be back at it. Love to scrap again at it. Donald wants that belt, but he's also realistic that he is fighting for his career. And that's what he's always said.
He's going to be setting records. I mean, he's going to be the winningest fighter ever. He's going to have the most knockouts ever. He's going to have the most finishes ever.
He's fucking doing everything that a fighter that had the opportunity with should do. So at the end of the day, he's not in a rush. Donald Cerrone at this point will probably be fighting 3 to 5 more years depending on the outcome of the next couple fights. All we know is right now, whether Tony fights fucking Dustin or Tony fights anybody in the top 6, it's Tony. This is what you get. Brutality, killer, absolutely finds a way to win, and like you said, does not lose. He's not been losing. He knows nothing but how to win. That's what people are not understanding, why people get frustrated about Tony. Tony is doing nothing wrong. He's like a Mousasi. Where the fuck is my opportunity?
Another fight that was on that main card, Petr Yan and Jimmy Rivera. This was a interesting fight. Interesting how it was scored, how it played out. It was really like most of these rounds could have gone either way. Jimmy Rivera didn't look bad. And then at the end of the round, Petr Yan was landing big shots, and it seemed to really leave that
lasting impression.
Yeah, that impression, that momentum at the end of the round in the judges' scorecards, which I don't think that they scored it incorrectly. I think he won the fight, but it seemed like he had good timing on when he was making contact, and Jimmy Rivera wasn't too far off.
No, and I'll have to say, I looked at the scorecards, probably one of the closest significant and total strikes. I think it was within like 4 or 5. the thing that was marked on that card was there was a lot of takedown attempts. There was one takedown the whole fight. It was Peter Yan. Peter Yan also, like you said, in that third round, was throwing the more stronger strikes, the more damaging strikes. It stuck out more because Jimmy was throwing punches with every fucking thing into it, going to the body a lot, trying to take the air out of Yan. You said something a couple weeks ago that I liked that I didn't think about watching Yan. He does have a good style. He does have a fun way that he's fighting. He's a different type of bantamweight because of how these guys have to fight. And I honestly think this is a new breed that we talk about all the time. This is a new style fighter in there. And I mean, Jimmy is not on the up and up like he was at one point, but he's still a dangerous fighter. So I thought, whether close fight or not, that could have went either way. Either one could have won. That was my bet. Jimmy sucked to lose that. But overall, Peter did exactly what he should have and probably wouldn't have changed it if he did it again.
He's now on an 8-fight win streak. He's undefeated since he's come to the UFC. What do you think he gets next? We've got Marlon Moraes coming off of a loss. Aljamain Sterling's up there looking like the number one contender, but like we just said, Henry Cejudo's defending 2 belts, and he's not fighting for the rest of the year. So either Aljamain's sitting out until they decide what they're doing with the flyweight division and Henry Cejudo comes back, or you have another number one contender fight and you put Petr Yan against him, or you give Marlon Moraes a chance against Petr Yan.
So that was what I had in mythology here. If everything worked out perfect, Sterling waits to get his title shot within the bantam, obviously going on with Henry. Marlon just lost being a contender. Let him go down. Let him be a gatekeeper to Yan. You either stay or go. Once Yan passes over, which will probably be in the 2020 by the time it's talks of what he would do fight, then he goes and fights for the belt. Everything's falling in line well. It's just now with Henry with the shoulder stuff, we're going really deep into the year of even being able to have Sterling go fight. So I think it just makes sense to have Marlon say, well, I'm here to fight. I want to get back into being able to fight again for the belt. Jan's on a tear right now. I don't think Yan and Rafael Assunção sounds like a very good fight just because they're right around each other. I think Yan is doing everything right, like I said, on growing crazy and going through a bunch of guys. Some top level, some not, but at the same time, Marlon just came up, did the same thing, didn't make it happen. Let me prove I can get back in and play in the same yard.
Yeah, that's kind of along the lines of what I'm thinking. That I guess if Assunção does win and he's got a fight scheduled in August.
Yeah, the Corey Sandhagen fight could do a lot of volumes for Rafael because it could say, hey, look, I'm not letting these young chumps trying to climb the ranks. I'm the gatekeeper here. I win this. Give me another opportunity at the big boys.
Let's say Sandhagen wins.
If Sandhagen wins,
the winner of that fight is not a bad fight for Petr Yan, as long as he doesn't have something going on.
Corey is running through the ranks and is a tough fucking opponent. Let him go against a tough guy like Yan. Both of us blaze the same trail. Let's see who moves next. I mean, everybody right now is perfect in that division.
Yeah, Yan wants a title shot, but so does everyone.
And guess what? Here's a really fun fight in case anybody cares. What if Dominic Cruz decides to come back healthy? Hey, Petr Yan, do you want to fight Dominic Cruz, who's a legend who held the belt at one time and really proved to people if there's other fights you can't get lined up, like if Marlon decides to wait longer, Sterling and Henry don't fight till 2020? Let me go fight a legend like Dom, because if I beat a legend like that, you cannot deny me to be able to be in the next title. Just because he's not up in the rankings doesn't mean I took the opportunity, you gave it, I beat a legend.
So yeah, this was a good fight for the bantamweight division. Petr Yan now ranked 4th, looking like a very, very high level contender. We'll see how it plays out. Like I said, we got Cejudo out for a while and defending 2 belts. So I'm not sure how
it's good timing for the shoulder though.
Top of it is it?
Yeah, it is, because if I'm
he's got 2 belts to defend, and he's got a number one. We've got 2 clear number 1 contenders in both divisions.
From your standpoint in the UFC and promotionally, yes. From the guy that just had it happen, no, because he goes, look, I've proved my worth. I've made these monster climbs and I've made these huge accomplishments. I got 2 belts from 2 different divisions from guys that are scary as shit that thought they were going to walk right through me. Olympic gold medalists or not, just those 2 achievements, every champion gets time off. Most of them take 6 to 8, sometimes a year. He deserves to do the same thing. And then, by the way, he's only bettering himself by getting a shoulder surgery. He's been winning with a fucked up shoulder. Let him go get healed up. Now we got even better fights. We got a healthy guy coming back in. He was going to take that time regardless, especially in a fight like that. His leg got beat the dog shit out of. He wouldn't be fucking coming back for at least 4 months, let alone if he's got surgery now. No one can say anything.
That's why I don't think you can keep the flyweight division around because...
And that I just probably answered your point with that, and that makes a ton of sense with that. But as far as Henry personally, I don't think that at all the timing should be any quicker. I think he does exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't blame him for doing it. I just don't think it's like it's great that he's doing it.
No, it's not great for the sport, but the thing is he's still young. It's going to line up more on real fights. And guess what? Like we just said, any of those top 6 guys we say fight, and then think about this. What if Uriah Faber happens to make a fucking crazy run here, beating Ricky Simon, and then beat somebody?
He won't.
Well, that's totally fine. I can completely see that. But just think of the opportunity that could happen in 2020. What if fucking Faber gets on a 2-fight win and calls out Henry and they say, fuck it, this is the biggest fight that we could have promotionally of the year. Let's do it. There's so many great fights to line up in that division now. And with Henry running his mouth, with him running his mouth and doing what he's doing right now, it's just going to keep filling up.
Now, the feeling is going to get even deeper with all these flyweights coming up.
That's very true.
Before that, there was a heavyweight matchup, Blagoy Ivanov and Tai Tuivasa. So I was really hoping Tai was going to get this. This was a fun heavyweight fight that went to a decision. Usually when heavyweight fights go to the decision, they're not what we were looking for. This was nonstop throwing leather from big fucking dudes, and it still went to decision.
It's not a Francis Derek Lewis. It was complete opposite. It was a bang-out fest, and the craziest thing is both of the guys took huge damage. These guys are monster heavyweights, and they were able to go into the third, still banging out at the end there. I think that shot in the first, I believe, with Tuivasa, when he got dropped, that hurt him early as far as just overall getting it back into the fight. I think that dropped him, got him scared, but I was very impressed with Ivanov, just his overall control of the fight. Even when stuff didn't go his way, he'd get clipped bad. He wouldn't back off. He'd stand right there in the pocket and trade it back. So, everybody wants to see a knockout in a heavyweight fight, but for both those guys, I mean, the fence work, the elbows, getting back enough breath to continue and not just lay out like we've seen some, heavyweights in the past get boring. It was a lot of action, but man, fucking talk about the toughness of those guys.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what Blagoy Ivanov's been. He's won, I think his last 3 wins have all been decision. His last 2 fights, he had that win over Ben Rothwell
too.
And just this one. And he's winning these fights, and he's getting beat up while he's doing it. That's strange for a heavyweight fighter to have 3 consecutive wins by division.
Yeah, that's not very often.
Much. For him, I think he's going to be a top 10 opponent next. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking maybe you wait for Derek Lewis to come back.
That's exactly what I said.
The other option is Alistair Overeem. If Alexander Volkov never gets, we haven't heard anything out of Alexander Volkov, and Alistair Overeem kind of is just waiting in the wings for that fight. If that fight doesn't ever come, then maybe he's someone you match him up with. So you were thinking along the Derek Lewis lines as well?
Derek Lewis, just for the sheer fact, I don't think Derek Lewis is going to try to let anything go to decision anymore, especially after the Volkov knockout right before it could have went to a decision finish.
He wasn't winning that decision.
He was not winning that, and I think Derek's known that. I love the Alistair call-out. That's a good position. In a perfect world, that's a dream world right now, I would love to see him go against Kane, but that's not going to happen because Kane's not fighting. Doing. I don't know what Kane's doing, so I don't even consider him in the running. I think Derek Lewis makes the best for Ivanov to be able to have a huge fight like that and beat a guy like that, really jumps him up even bigger. Same time, Derek Lewis comes back from being healthy, gets in there and cleans somebody up. Now we're talking Derek Lewis bigger fights again, which,
you're right.
When the fuck are you not going to want to watch the Black Beast?
Mm-hmm. What about Ty? What's he doing now? He's coming off this loss. He had just lost before that to Junior Dos Santos, got knocked out. So he was undefeated at 10-0, and now he's got 2 consecutive losses.
I think if they line it up well, get Augusto Saki in there, take a rip at him. They're both ranked still. Ty's coming off, obviously, the loss. That's huge stock gains that Augusto could get. I think a fight like that would be like, hey, man, here's your last chance to be in the top 15. That's going to light a fire under fucking, Tuivasa's ass. And then you got Sacco that obviously wants to come in and obviously make an even bigger name for himself. So why not fight a guy that's been a big name, even though he's losing?
Mm-hmm. So it's funny you said last chance. And Justin Willis is trying to get a last chance, loser goes home kind of fight. He's just been released by the UFC. Him and Tuivasa have serious beef. They're always ragging on each other, always calling each other out on social media, always talking shit about each other. And Justin Willis is pushing hard for him against Tai Tuivasa. The loser leaves. Easy for him to say he's already out.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind seeing that fight either, just because of all the animosity in the heavyweight division.
It's a bloodbath fight, man. Two guys like that size, and then especially if they made a fucking clause to bring Justin Willis back in just because this fight's that wanted, that would speak volumes, man.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen. I'm not a Justin Willis fan.
No,
I was actually happy to see him get cut.
No, I thought it was bad for the division.
Yeah, but with all of the animosity and now Ty coming off 2 losses, I wouldn't mind
That's funny.
Seeing that.
Good stuff.
Tatiana Suarez, Nina Ansaroff. This was a #1 contender fight for the strawweight division, so we thought. Tatiana Suarez won, but not dominantly. She's still undefeated. This was a win against the #4 contender. She's got some injuries she has to deal with. She's not getting the next title shot.
Nope.
Maybe her next fight will be a title fight, but she's not getting Jessica Andrade next. That fight was announced. It's going to be in China. I guess maybe she gets Michelle Waterson after this fight as another #1 contender fight, because they've got the championship fight already scheduled. What do you think of Tatiana in this fight? I guess I was expecting more, but I had unrealistic expectations.
One, I don't know how that girl makes 115. I mean, that girl is top heavy, if you know what I'm saying, and also she's a bigger girl in general. But no, not my most impressive performance, but what I was impressed with is the dominance of not giving up on the wrestling, going in for the takedowns, going in for being on the ground. She landed some good shots on the ground, some good ground and pound. I think that fight showed that when you fight the higher caliber, that you're not going to be able to be your same fighter every single time.
Right, that's really it.
And
she's not finishing girls because they're not the same girls.
No, the talent level goes up. Obviously, the skill level's got to go up on your end also. And I think with her is that almost getting finished at the end of the fight really scared me, because all it took was Nina to land one good shot. 10 seconds left, she's trying to tee off on Tatiana, who's on Queer Street. Mm-hmm. So she's growing. She's fucking doing unbelievable things in that division.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm still undefeated and still top prospect, but I don't think it was enough for them to make her the next title fight and make it happen. I mean, if it fell in, so it was going to happen, they were going to do it, but they weren't going to force it after that fight.
Yep. I think with her is she does one or two things I was thinking about. So obviously she's not getting the title shot. So you got Willie Zhang fighting Jessica, obviously for the title there. Winner of that, if she waits, she obviously is the next in line to fight that. But if she wants to keep her stock up and stay active, and let's say, hey, they say your fight wouldn't even happen on the champ status till late in 2020. Do you want one more fight this year? Yeah. I got a great fight. Someone that's been looking for a fight in that division, Joanna. Go and fight Joanna to prove to everybody, hey, if I beat Joanna, I deserve to get this title shot. Absolutely, because I didn't sit around and wait. I'm active. I'm not waiting for the champ. I'm coming to the champ. And then Joanna, obviously,
she's got that win over Jessica Andrade.
Yes, she's already got that, and then she's chasing Jessica to get right back to her queen status. It's a perfect picture for either of them. Right,
and I don't think it's right to give her an immediate title shot.
I do not either.
Yeah, she hasn't been fighting in the division, but one win over Tatiana Suarez would be enough to give her a title shot.
Keep the testing going.
Yeah, I love that idea. The Tatiana and Joanna fight, I think, makes the most sense.
Yep. Now, what about Nina? Because Nina did not look bad in that fight. Nina showed a lot. She had a lot of takedown defense. Obviously trying to put her away there at the end of the fight and hurting her bad, beating the body up in shots. She could have been right on the other end of winning that fight, no problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that she's now. I mean, she was on a win streak. It's gone. I don't think that she's immediately in that conversation of title contenders.
She's won against some big girls, though. I mean, Claudia and Marcos, who are about to fight, she beat them. She beat Angela Hill, which doesn't matter. Angela's been around for a while, and then she obviously has a no-name.
I'd like to see her fight Michelle Waterson, but I just don't. It feels like Michelle Waterson's on her soapbox, not going to take a fight unless it's a championship fight. Well, she's not in position for that.
Yeah, and I agree with what she said about the rankings always aren't fair. But what we say 1,000 times, life's not fair. You have to deal with what's in front of you, and I think she's had some really good fights. Like Paige Van Sant fight, definitely should have won that fight. Didn't, got head kicked, and then got submitted. She's had some fights that she was in them and then lost, and that's how the fight game works. So just because of your name doesn't mean the name game only works so far. You have to also produce, and that's why I think Nina, even in a loss like this, was producing, looking very dominant at certain points. I think if she can play her cards right, wait for the loser of the title fight from VL Zhang and Andrade.
Yeah, I think that it's tough for Michelle Waterson to claim a title fight. You look back at what she's done recently. Last win's Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Yep.
She just lost. She's not. Kowalkiewicz's stock is going down.
Yes.
So that fight, that win doesn't look as strong as it used to be. For that, Felice Herrig and Courtney Casey Sanchez, not incredibly strong. She's on a 3-fight win streak. Great. She lost to Tisha Torres. That was the last fight Tisha Torres won.
Yep.
She's had 3 consecutive losses since then. She lost to Rose, who was the champion until very recently. But it's not like she's put together this unbelievable streak that you can't deny her a title fight. She needs another fight against a top ranked fighter, and I think if Nina Ansaroff would fight Michelle Waterson, I think that's an appropriate fight.
Well, and if there's a case of that where that needs to happen for Michelle, or if Michelle wants to actually use the right tactic, keep calling Joanna out. Get Joanna to get in your cage, and then let's go ahead with that.
You
because
beat Joanna, you can get a title shot.
You get Joanna, you absolutely get a title shot. And by the way, that's a huge fight anyway, and that's a perfect lineup fight the way those fighters are. So I think if Michelle continues to doing what she does and talks the right way, she'll get the right fight. And Joanna is begging for a fight, whether she thinks she's deserving or not. She just wants to fight. So I don't know what people are waiting around on.
Somehow, Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz made its way to the undercard, which is just mind-blowing. But Aljamain Sterling looked great. It's the best I think I've ever seen him fight.
Yeah.
He had the distance down. He was really controlling how the fight was going.
Came out aggressive from the beginning, throwing everything, every type of kick you could imagine, and just stayed on Pedro.
Yeah, he overwhelmed him. Beat him the entire time. Aljamain Sterling is now the #1 contender for the bantamweight division. I don't know who you give the next title shot to over him. It doesn't make sense. But like we said, when is that going to come? It's not going to come this year because Henry Cejudo's not here.
Yeah.
I don't know if Aljamain's going to wait out and see if he can just wait until that title shot's available. Just sit out as long as Cejudo's coming out. And hope that he defends his bantamweight before he goes up for featherweight or defends his flyweight. But I really don't know what else he does. If I was him, I wouldn't take another fight.
I think he waits, collects the cash, keeps doing what he's doing, waiting around, and I think that's the only, it sucks for Sterling, but this is the way it works. But you know what? You get to fight a healthy Henry. You hopefully do it early 2020, maybe like March. And, hell, after that, there's no question. It's just, it sucks to wait, but that's just reality. And then you have on the reverse side, Pedro, which was my bet. I think Pedro goes down and maybe fights someone like Jimmy.
Yeah, that's probably appropriate. He was on a good stretch. He had just coming off that win against Cody. That's a big win against a former champion. But there's nothing really to keep him up at the top of the division. He's going to be probably fighting someone else who's coming off of a loss, and I think Jimmy is a good candidate for that. We talked about Kowalkiewicz already. She lost to Alexa Grasso. came out with some statements after the fight saying that she's not the fighter she used to be, but she still wants to be a fighter. So she's going to keep on fighting. It's tough to get behind her and interested in her fights when she's talking like that. But it is what it is, and you got to credit her for staying in there. One of the fights that we had kind of mentioned a little bit earlier is Caitlin Chukagian and Joanne Calderwood. Caitlin Chukagian looked good. She came out as the winner. In the flyweight division, I thought she was going to be a surefire shot for the next title contender for Valentina, and she wanted it, but the timing didn't work out. She's getting married shortly after that fight that Valentina is going to be defending it. So I think she will get the next fight though. She defeated Joanne Calderwood, a veteran of the game, and so she's an up and comer. I think that we've got some more to look forward there. Yan Janan beat Angela Hill. She was the first fighter in the UFC to have 3 fights in 2019. I think Cerrone became the second an hour later.
God.
But a little bit more than an hour later. But to have 3 fights already at this point in 2019 is a feat in itself.
But I think that was smart for Angela, because what have we talked about before when we were just saying, like, hey, I think she might just, have to phase out here. She's doing everything to keep her job.
She's still getting wins,
She's still getting wins.
And
She's doing
this one. She stepped in for Felice Herrig on short
right
notice.
away,
So
and after a fight that she had fought and won.
Yeah, she's showing value to the UFC because she's willing to do that. So yeah, we had talked a few episodes ago about how we thought it was appropriate for her to maybe step away. That her best is past her.
That was on me.
But she is showing that she still does have value to the UFC. And then the last fight that I want to talk about with the ranked opponents on this card was Calvin Kattar and Ricardo Lamas. Calvin Kattar got the first round KO. He's looking good now. He's going to be trying to get a better fight in the featherweight division. He's going to get a top 10 fight. I'm always looking for for Yair to fight. So I'm thinking where the rankings are now. Shane Burgos coming off that win. Yair Rodriguez, where he's at, and Jeremy Stephens coming off a loss. Personally, I think Jeremy Stephens coming off the loss makes the most sense for Calvin Kattar's next matchup.
So that's exactly what I had. Is I thought after Jeremy kind of falling a little bit off there with 2 big fights, Aldo and Zabit. Zabit fight, obviously he fought very well in, just didn't happen to get it in the end.
Didn't have it.
Aldo was the crippling liver shot there. I think that's going to be the biggest next real test for Calvin to say, I belong here. And at the same time, it's kind of what we always joke about, a little mini gatekeeper, which is Jeremy Stephens. That's a tough fucking fight. That's an enjoyable fight, especially after going against Lamas, which is also an enjoyable fighter to go in. I love the way that Calvin fought that fight. He was looking for the different types of shots he could touch Lamas with. And once he got that, he stuck that jab out real quick and then turned it into a left cross and then just put him out. I mean, it was perfect, man.
Yeah. So he got the first round finish, which is always fun to see.
Mom, we're on ESPN. That's what he kept saying. He goes, I just want this to be on SportsCenter. I'm like, that's good shit.
So yeah, that was UFC 238. Like we said, 20-something ranked fighters on this card.
Everybody made weight,
just
thank God.
Stacked card fights that were on a position in this card that they had no business being in. Like we said, the Aljamain fight against Pedro Munoz was on the prelims.
It was crammed, man.
Ferguson and Cerrone was halfway up the card. It was a fun fight, fun night, strong card in Chicago. We've talked a little bit already about some of these fights that have been announced in the last couple weeks. Some of them are huge. I'm going to go ahead and mention the ones we've already kind of addressed. Jessica Andrade is going to be defending her strawweight title against Weili Zhang in China in August. This is a perfect opportunity for the UFC. Weili Zhang is on an absolute tear right now. She's stomping through everyone. And then to have an opportunity to have a title fight in China, this is a huge thing, I think. This is similar to what Rose was offering Jessica to defend her title in Brazil. I know that Jessica Andrade had offered that back to Rose, but she was not ready to take the fight, so they're moving on into China. But Weili Zhang is 19-1 on an 18-fight win streak.
I was just going to say, that was the most interesting thing. Her first fight ever, she lost, and then never lost again.
No. I think she won her first and lost her second, and is on an 18-fight win streak.
Was it the second? Okay.
I think it was on.
I thought it was either. I knew it was early, but then obviously she just went on the absolute tear. But the cool thing is, like, Andrade's going to be able to defend the belt and possibly give her first loss in 18, or Weili Zhang in her own country gets to fucking shock the world and do what Andrade just did in Brazil. I mean, it's perfect.
I think it's a good opportunity for the UFC to
branch out.
Yeah, branch into China more. I think this is a well-made match all around. It makes sense. One thing that's funny is immediately after this card on 238, they were asking Dana White who gets the next fight, if it's Tatiana Suarez or Michelle Waterson to challenge Jessica Andrade. And Dana White just immediately dismissed Michelle Waterson and said, "Oh, she's way too far down the rankings." Weili Zhang is one spot ahead of her in the rankings, is getting the title shot.
Not even looking at his own rankings.
Yeah, I think it's funny, but
that's hilarious.
But I think this fight makes sense. I think it's the right one to make based on where the division is right now. We also mentioned the Valentina Shevchenko title fight. So she's going to defend against Liz Carmouche. We said it's going to be in Uruguay, and it's going to be a chance for her to get back her first loss as a professional. I think that the Caitlin Chukagian deserves the fight more, but based on timing, I don't have a problem with this fight being made.
No,
either.
I don't either. And I think it's what they know they need to do to continue to grow that division. So I think this is basically, hey, you just fought. We got to get somebody else in here. Your time's going to come. You're not going to move out of your spot to be able to actually go and defend or to fight for the belt anyway. So I think it makes complete sense. Like we've said, I don't know anybody that can touch Valentina. Even Carmouche is an absolute animal, but she is not the same speed and caliber.
No, and she's not the same fighter she was back then either.
Well, I think she's a classic example of she is just so fucking high level, but the fights that she took and not even damage, the matchups that she had to deal with so early in her career after being a champion, I just think it was too early in her career and it just hurt her down the road.
Mm-hmm. And just to kind of follow up on that development, Liz Carmouche moving to the Valentina Shevchenko fight. They did find a replacement fighter for Roxanne for July 20th. It's going to be Jennifer Maia.
Nice.
I believe that they had previously fought at Invicta, so this will be round 2.
Almost all those girls have fought each other because they all came from
big
Invicta.
Feeder for the UFC.
It's been wonderful.
So she has not left opponentless. She is still going to have that fight.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Good for her.
And while we're on the topic of title fights, Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, that fight just got announced. It's going to be in October in Melbourne, and it's going to be a monster event there. That's the one that I'm looking forward to that fight too. I mean, we had talked about how there was the 3 potential unification bouts. This year. This is the second one that's been announced, scheduled. We're still waiting on that welterweight fight to get put together, but
that'd be great.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting one. We've got Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, Australian, New Zealander. I mean, it's going to be huge for that part of the world, and they're going to put on a big show, I'm sure, in Melbourne.
Which is awesome because just another nation and country we get to go to that promotes the sport and producing 2 of the highest fucking caliber guys at the middleweight division. I have no idea how this fight's going to go, and I'm so excited about it because this is, you talk about don't blink and talent, this is fucking nuts.
And maybe I spoke too soon. I don't know if we've spoken about it since our last time, but the Khabib and Poirier fight is now official.
Yes, it's not just verbal anymore. Yeah. It's on paper.
That fight is going down in Abu Dhabi in September.
I love the location
4 championship
selection.
fights that have been announced since our last podcast.
Yep.
And the Khabib Poirier fight, I'm glad they made. It's nice to see these interim belts actually pay off. Yeah, you do get the unification bout afterwards. So that's good to see. With that, the way the lightweight division has gone, I wouldn't have been terribly surprised if someone passed up Poirier, but great to see that they did make that fight happen. And also on that Abu Dhabi card, Islam Makhachev and Davi Hamed.
Yep.
So Islam is still doesn't have a ranked opponent. He's now ranked, but it's another step up in his opponent.
Yeah.
Get to see him out there again, and then hopefully we'll see him fight some more higher ranked fighters.
Two winning streakers fighting there, though. I mean, Islam's got a 5-fight winning streak, and Davi's has a 5-fight. So I mean, this is the type of shit you want to see. Guys that are on momentum to basically say, "You're a pawn. I move in front of you. Nope, you go back." I mean, this is the type of matchups I like. You know the matchups I don't like is Ray Borg versus Gabriel Silva. Gabriel Silva, no one knows. The reason it is because this is his debut from the LFA. This is the second fight in a row they've given Ray Borg with a debuter, and Ray Borg lost and went overweight.
Yeah,
on his last
Casey
fight.
Kenny fight wasn't a good showing.
At bantam, when he was normally cutting to flyweight. This is the type of stuff that I'm just like, any normal person watching the lineups talking about this, why are we trying to make someone win? Make them make themselves win. This is another handout to Ray Borg to keep around. I know Ray Borg's had the stuff with his kid, everything else. I feel terrible for him. I'd rather see him have another fight with a ranked opponent or somebody that's of some talks. Like, this doesn't help Ray, and this sure as hell helps Silva coming in, even though Ray Borg...
it's a win-win for Gabriel Silva.
Yeah, it's just, I don't like seeing that because Ray Borg is a name. He is proven himself. He's not had the greatest here recently, but keep him with guys that are relevant in the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough sell to give Ray Borg someone who's got no name value in the UFC at this point.
Yeah. But let's stay positive.
We got a couple middleweight fights for the Vancouver card that were announced. David Branch and Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez is living in Canada now.
I like him.
So, yeah, I think that'll be a good one. They're both kind of on the cusp of being ranked. David Branch, I think, is at the very bottom of the rankings, and Andrew Sanchez is just outside, coming off of a win against Marc-Andre Barriault in the last Canada card. So
yeah,
we got an opportunity there, and then also on that same card, another middleweight fight: Uriah Hall and Antonio Carlos Jr. Antonio Carlos Jr.
I really like that.
His loss. Uriah Hall is looking to bounce back. So there's a couple middleweight fights that it's good to see some more middleweight fights. I feel like out of all the divisions, middleweight seems to be the least active. It's not necessarily the least active, but for the amount of fighters that are in the division, it's the least active. There's not a whole lot going on there.
And especially for the names that are in there. I mean, Ian Heinisch just got lined up with Derek Brunson, which I'm glad to see. But, people we've talked about before, Brad Tavares is coming up on a year since he has fought. That's tough to see. I
mean, just going down the list in the middleweight division, if you go, going down the rankings.
Yeah.
We're looking at... Yoel hasn't fought in a while.
Yeah.
He had some issues. He is scheduled to fight. Yeah, it's been a year. Rockhold hasn't fought in forever, but he's moving up to 205.
And he's now into 205, so it doesn't matter. Gastelum just lost to Israel.
Yeah, so we had Gastelum. Hermansson's been fighting. Jacare just fought. Weidman hasn't fought in forever. He's now moving out. Paulo Costa's, it's been a year since he's fought.
Yep.
Derek Brunson had that fight that put out Elias Theodorou out of the UFC.
Yep.
Jared Cannonier and Anderson Silva just fought. But a lot of these guys have not been very active. And it doesn't seem like it's as deep a division as it used to be. So there's been 3 middleweight fights that have just been announced recently. Good to see that they're getting moving. One of the fights that I guess, the fight that was announced recently that's not a title fight that I'm most interested in is RDA and Leon Edwards. This is Leon Edwards' opportunity. He's been talking shit about how everyone's turned him down. He can't get a fight. At the same time, I feel for him. He's been winning fights in losing spots in the rankings, which is fucked. He's had good performances against good fighters. People who are getting a lot of praise, and he's beating them. But he's not getting a real top contender fight. This is it. This is your opportunity. Show up or shut up.
Yeah, and this is for Leon, and we've always talked about it with his record. Gunnar was a good win. Donald was an okay win. after that, you're getting down to guys that are still on the bottom of the food chain. Even Brian Barberina and Vicente Luque were completely different fighters in 2017 than they are now. Luque and Barberina just battled it out, and Luque did what he always does.
Luque's on a big win streak now.
And he's a huge streak, but that was 2.5 fucking years ago. Leon is now needing to be able to prove now, beating a big name. You and going even beating Anthony Pettis isn't a big name right now for you, even on Pettis' run.
Pettis is a big name always.
No, Pettis is a big name. I don't think it speaks enough volumes to the caliber of someone that he's going to be fighting now. So I think he's been trying to get ahead in the future too quick to say, whoa, man, you haven't got the prove really as much as you've proved. Now is your time. Now you can talk if you beat.
Yeah, you gotta show up on this one. This is a big deal. This is the fight that, this is exactly what you're asking for.
This is as high as you're going to get.
Yeah, this is your opportunity to show everyone that you are a top
that's what
contender.
I'm saying. Pettis is a huge name, but RDA, who just beat Kevin Lee that came over into the division.
Yeah, he just beat a lightweight.
Understand, but RDA has not had anything else that's hurt his career here recently. He's been waiting for his title shot. He hasn't got it. He lost to the champ. He lost to the champ. He lost to Colby. You can't knock him on that. Everybody else he's winning against is big names. Beating Robbie Lawler?
Yeah.
That was when Robbie was still Robbie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a...
he still is Robbie. Fuck.
That's a big welterweight fight, and potential big-time movement for
There's
Leon
our
Edwards.
game. There's our finally what we always talk about that actually we get to show people. Here's actual fucking movement. Leon ends up winning the RDA fight. No one can complain. He should replace RDA's spot in the rankings and then go and talk about getting the big boy stuff. Because the proof's in the pudding, man, and he just doesn't have all the pudding out yet.
Yeah, but at the same time, he hasn't had the opportunity to get the pudding.
True, but you know what?
That's what he's been complaining about.
What we said earlier, man, is not all life's fair, and trust me, certain people get more preferential treatment, whatever you want to call it. Leon was just not that guy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's how it works.
His brother's doing well in Bellator.
Fuck. Yes, he
well
is.
in Bellator. So you kind of wonder if he's
Those black
that.
Englishmen, man. It's new. It's flashy.
Unless you're Anthony Joshua.
Well, yeah. Let's leave that alone. I don't want to.
So, there's been all kinds of fights that have announced. We just went through four championship fights. A few others that are not championship level, but are still going to be very entertaining fights coming up here in the next few months.
Going to be busy.
Since last time we spoke, we've also got some retirement news.
Yeah.
We already mentioned Chael. Last time we were speaking, we kind of thought that Jimmy Manuel was going to be leaning toward retirement. He did end up retiring after that fight in Stockholm. King Mo is the other one. So King Mo is now retired from mixed martial arts. He's going to continue to be involved. He's going to continue to coach.
Yep.
I think he is announcing events for someone, for some smaller promotion.
Can you imagine that guy announcing events?
He's funny to listen to talk. I like the way he thinks, and I like the way he sounds when he's speaking.
Sure.
So I don't have any problems with that. It's just another guy who's getting up there in age, and what is there moving forward?
Do you remember his Pat Barry fight when he got clipped by Pat Barry like 3 times and was down, and he came back and knocked Pat Barry out cold? Like, he was just all over the place. Just they're like, fight's over. They were on the fight's over. King Mo puts Pat Barry out, just eyes rolled back in the head. King Mo put on some of the best shows in 38 to say, I want my body. I'm a big dude. I want my body to stay intact. Fuck yeah, man. The guy is awesome to watch.
That was pretty much the reason he gave. Yeah. That he can't train. His body can't train the way he needs to be a top fighter.
Between surgeries. So. Yeah, he's being smart, like what we've been talking about a lot of fighters, man. Don't push it to the limit. Don't redline yourself. Mm-hmm. TJ Dillashaw found out about that.
So he's still going to be involved in mixed martial arts. I think he's still very involved with the American Top Team, but he will not be competing anymore. And then we also mentioned this, but Chris Weidman is moving up to light heavyweight. And this was something we had talked about when the podcast first started. Things we were looking forward to, and we were thinking maybe there's going to be quite a few middleweights start to move up to light heavyweight after what we saw with Anthony Silva and Thiago Santos. This is the second one this year that's already made their announcement following Luke Rockhold. So I think that he's already mentioned he got a light heavyweight fight against Luke Rockhold. I think this makes sense for Chris. He's a big 185 pounder.
It's huge.
Yeah, I think he typically walks around 225, 230.
Yeah.
And he's had some rough go of it of late in the middleweight division, but he is a former middleweight champion and a much more accomplished middleweight champion than Luke Rockhold was.
Yeah.
I would say as accomplished as any champion we've seen since Silva, right? The most.
Here's my problem, though, is, okay, so obviously Luke moved up. I don't want to see Weidman move up just to fight Luke. I don't want to see that.
I'd like to see the rematch.
I mean, I do. I'm going to watch it, but I don't want to see two guys from two different divisions just switch another division, have the same fight they could have had in their other division. I want to see Rockhold do what he's doing, going and having his first fight. I want to see Weidman line somebody up, not wait around. He's been fucking waiting around long enough. Mm-hmm. Get a fight. Both of you say, here's our entry fights. Here's our debuts into a new weight class. Okay, we both win ours, then maybe we fight each other. Or maybe we fight somebody bigger and then see who can catch up.
They're both looking at John Jones. That's where they want to go.
Well, that's terrific, but the problem is there's a lot of other guys in line that you may not be able to get. Okay, I can tell you right now, Anthony Smith right now would probably beat Luke and Weidman the way that they fought in their past at this level. No doubt, at the size advantage.
You're just saying you don't want to see him fighting at the same. So we're saying that fight at light heavyweight is different than the fight at middleweight. Because that's what we're just talking about with Chris Weidman and
I know we
Rockhold.
did. My point is, this is another fighter we've never seen fight at this weight class together. So I know that they're coming from the same weight class, but we've not seen it. I think for Anthony, he realized he's going to be better at light heavyweight. Whether Weidman or Luke saw that or not, I think Weidman or Luke are like you. They know that I can't just keep sitting in this middleweight pool. This is not a very active pool. It's not as deep as I think. Let me go where the water is really crisp. Right now, light heavyweight, that's where it's fucking crisp because they're seeing guys like Anthony Smith coming over there. Obviously, you have Santos that come over.
That's why I think the division's weak because people are just stepping in and running through the division.
I get that, but I think with a situation like this with John Jones, we got to keep John Jones, like you said, in this division as long as we can. So keep having fights that you would have maybe never seen. If Luke Rockhold or Weidman fucking fight John Jones, are you kidding me? No one would have ever talked about that 5 years ago. Now you have that opportunity. So keep feeding them in, but don't make fights we've already seen. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a new pool to pick fights from.
Yeah, Cormier's out. Santos is fighting Jones. Get Luke and get Weidman some wins. Let him beat up on Anthony Smith and make me look like an idiot, and then let him go fight Jones. I just don't want to see the same two guys come over in a division that's already fought. That's all I'm getting at.
Just to fight again.
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment. Yeah. As I was saying, I think that this is just going to be a trend that we see more of. Not just middleweights moving up to light heavyweights, but across all of the weight divisions. I think we're going to see more and more.
I think you're right.
Accomplished fighters who are doing well still decide to move up in hopes that they can do better. With that said, let's go ahead and look forward. This next weekend, we've got UFC Fight Night Greenville. It's going to be headlined by Renato Moicano and Korean Zombie. This is going to be Korean Zombie's first fight back since that last second of a 5-round fight knockout loss to Yair Rodriguez.
Fight. Your favorite? That's got to be your top 5 of your career watching.
Fights?
Yeah.
It's got to be everyone's. I mean, that's. How do you have a last-second knockout in a 5-round fight? That doesn't ever happen.
With a down or an upward
crazy elbow from bent over, and
you know the best part about that elbow is they're like all the coaches were like, I know Yair didn't do that randomly. He meant to do that. It wasn't like he was just throwing limbs. He knew to land that, and it. Fuck, man. The ending to that. And now we got a very similar fight, almost identical as far as fight styles. Renato, I think it was perfect that he went and lost to Aldo because I think that's going to either change him for good or change him for bad.
Yeah.
I hope he's hungry, but that could go either way. And then Korean Zombie, man, if your name isn't even in the actual title when they put out the promotion video, they don't even say his name. He's just a Korean Zombie. Yeah, Chaem Sung Jung. I love this fight, man, and I really do. I think this is another fight that will probably be a Yair. Maybe not go that long, but it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I think that...
time for predictions.
Anytime Korean Zombie is in a fight...
I'm watching.
I want to watch it, and I think it has a chance of having Fight of the year.
Yeah, no, it does. And look,
every single time he puts on a show, and so we both got Renato Moicano winning this fight. I think that he's shown enough that he is still a step above Korean Zombie, but you can never count him out, man.
Absolutely not.
So this is a fight, and that's what we were talking about. This whole card for this weekend, we don't. The odds where they are, the fights, who they are.
It's splitting hairs.
It's splitting hairs, and there's not a single enticing bet on this card for me. There's not one I want to make.
If I was in Vegas right now, 12 deep, I wouldn't bet on any of these fights because I know I could lose my ass.
Yeah, these are all fights that, I mean, fights in general, the idea of a fist fight between two humans, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But these ones especially, it's anyone's guess. But we're both showing Renato Moicano winning this fight.
Yep.
I believe the co-main event is John Lineker and Rob Font 2. And we both got John Lineker winning that fight by TKO.
Yeah, I think coming off that loss that we all thought before, that Lineker with his power, his body shots, he plays his game. He doesn't change it up. That's what I like about him. I think that will keep working for him. Rob Font, I've talked about for a long time. I think he's very underrated. I think his skills overall, just what he can do on the ground, on the stand-up, the way he waits, he's dangerous. I just know how violent and strong Lineker is, that if he lands that left or even gets you with a good body shot, he's putting you out. Or he kind of just wears you down too because his volume, like he does not get tired. He does not stop. So, yeah, I think Lineker will finish it with the hands, get a TKO, but Rob Font's another new breed that could really spark in that division, especially featherweight. God, that division's fun to watch.
There's also going to be a ranked matchup between women's flyweights. We got Andrea Lee and Montana De La Rosa.
I love Montana.
This is a good fight for that division. We were talking about how Valentina is steps ahead of everyone, but Andrea Lee,
she scares me, man. That girl is really, if this fight, she wins this, she has beat some really high-level opponents, and especially for that weight division. And Montana is another one that I watched from Tough. I said I really liked her style. I thought she had good tenacity. I think she's very technical because she has a husband that's in the MMA community. Her ground game and the subs, if she can get a hold of Lee and not let her do Lee's game of punching and getting kicks out, I think Montana can at least get it to a decision, but Lee, man, is really fucking dangerous up front. I mean, but this is a test for both of them because I don't think either of them have faced opponents like each other.
They're both on a big win streak, and neither of them has lost in the UFC.
Yeah.
So this will be...
I think this is going to be the make or break because it's going to be somebody's first loss in the UFC, let alone this is where the levels start changing. And they're in the level. I mean, both girls are obviously doing the right things.
We've also got Brian Barberina making I believe this is his first fight since that Vicente Luque potential fight of the year, if it wasn't for the 236 card. But he's going to be favored in this fight going up against Randy Brown. You've got Randy Brown winning this fight. I think Brian Barberina is going to win. Neither of us think it's going the distance.
Well, this one's another one of those that has drove me nuts. I've changed my name on this like 10 times, and the reason is I know how tough Barberina is, but I saw him get breakdown by Luque. Then I have the other side. Randy Brown does not apparently have the strongest chin because Nico Price knocked him out with that hammer fist from the bottom that he landed on him. Probably shouldn't have got knocked out normally in that. So that scares me. I don't have the chin. Brian does. I think Randy can outlast and stay away from Barberina and tag him enough to tire him out and then finish him in the fucking third. So I think Barberina is probably going to win this, but at the same time, I think Randy Brown is going to pull something to gas the tank of Barberina and be able to piece him up at the end.
And that's kind of, not that Barberina was winning that Luque fight, but it took it till the very end to get the finish against him.
He is granite, man. I mean, it's tough to break down.
And then we can see Luis Pena coming back. Violent Bob Ross. He's
you love him, man.
I think he's one of the better prospects in the lightweight division. He's got a lot of there's a lot of great prospects in the lightweight division. But I think he's very interesting. I think he's got a lot of tools He's got the build.
He's a
for
new
fighter.
flavor. Yeah, he sure as fuck doesn't need to try to be dropping down to featherweight again. I can tell you that.
No, he should stay at lightweight.
Stay at lightweight because he depletes himself enough. But I like this fight and I don't like this fight. The reason I do and I don't is I think Luis will probably win this because of being a younger, faster fighter than Matt Wiman in this. My problem with this fight, why I don't like it also, is Matt Wiman has not fought in 4 fucking years in the UFC.
I think closer to 5.
Is it fully 5?
I think it's closer to 5.
Regardless, you're getting a guy that has not been active in the octagon, in the promotion that he's hired with in almost 5 years. Luis is basically teeing up right now because Luis had the problems with the featherweight weight cut, losing, all that weight, overweight, then being able to go in and get his last win, but he didn't get a finish. He was butthurt about that. I think they're teeing up kind of a Greg Hardy here for Luis. They got a lot of stock in him, and I don't blame them. But I don't think you should ever be fighting somebody that hasn't fought in almost 5 years in your own promotion.
And
that's already been in it.
That's why I'm taking Luis
Yep.
On this fight. The odds are not good. He's the biggest favorite on the card, at least that we're looking at.
Yep.
But he's the only one I'm really, really, really
confident about.
And it's because of that. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Matt Wiman's, like I said, close to 5 years removed from fighting. Luis Pena has been looking strong. I think he's got too much going for him right now for me to bet against him, and there's no one else on this card I am that confident in. So I'd rather just take what I think is going to be a win rather than trying to maximize my odds for the bet.
I like that.
You said, if we were in Vegas, I'm not putting any fights down on this card, but with the rules we've placed, we're putting down a bet.
All right.
This is the one I'm picking.
Yeah, so definitely you've been taking some money from me, so I'm not going to bet on Matt Wiman as my bet. I am betting as my prediction because I'd love to see an underdog come back and beat somebody that's been active. Okay, we've already talked about that. My bet for the evening is a middleweight bout, which is between Kevin Holland and Alessio DiCharcho. Holland has been talking his ass off lately, and rightfully so. He got a new UFC contract deal. He's a new up-and-coming prospect. He's done some good things in the division already. It's awesome. I hate seeing people talking shit. I also love that I looked at Alessio and I looked at his background, some of the wins he had. He didn't have some of the biggest wins, but a lot of his wins were very tactical and very precise. And I think with a guy like Holland, who's going to get cocky and be talking and probably being super active, I think Alessio can take out a cocky asshole in that division because he's from Italy, he's from France, he's, a new breed. I got him at a 175 plus here. That's going to be my bet with a decision in the third.
All right.
And the reason being is if I'm going to fucking lose, I better lose on somebody that can at least make me some money. So I'm going to bet on that.
That's not a bad reason.
That's the only reason I'm doing it.
We're going to go ahead and preview the following card. It's going to be UFC Fight Night Minneapolis, taking place on the 29th of June. That one's headlined by Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou.
Yikes.
This was the fight that was supposed to be on that early July.
Yeah, they moved it.
Fight week card, and they moved it to headline this when Tyron Woodley got hurt and dropped out of his fight against Robbie Lawler. So this was going to be Tyron and Robbie Lawler 2. Instead it's JDS and Francis Ngannou 1. Top 2 contenders really for the heavyweight division. We've got Stipe and DC fighting in August in what's likely going to be DC's last fight. So you imagine the winner of this gets the next title shot. And you think it's going to be JDS, and I got Francis. Neither of us sees this going the distance. This is not going to be another Francis Derek Lewis fight. I can't imagine. These guys are going to be
been wrong before, but I hope not. No, for us and everybody watching, I hope not. My thing is, at heart, again, these cards have been driving me nuts. I think, obviously, Junior Dos Santos is a more technical fighter than Francis, but does he have the power and just size? No, Francis does. So, obviously, Francis wins.
Did you see that picture of Francis next to Shaq?
Oh, my God. Fucking Shaq looked like just another world.
It looked like 3 Francises. I thought Francis Ngannou was the scariest person in the world, and then I saw
Shaq, and I'm like, no, I'm wrong.
Oh, my fuck.
But yeah, Francis, that's my thing. Francis is huge. He's got huge hands, huge power. at some point, talent and accuracy don't matter when you get hit with a Mack
If
truck.
you get hit one time,
it's
that's
over.
it. Yeah,
that's the thing is I think Francis probably will get that finish on that, but I'm actually going to go with Junior getting a more technical and hopefully doing the right thing, the martial arts sport.
It's going to be tough for me to pick against Francis moving forward. I picked against him against Stipe, and that was correct. But I picked against him against Alistair Overeem. We're talking about Alistair Overeem, the most accurate striker in UFC history. Yeah, he's as decorated of a mixed martial artist in the heavyweight division as there is. And it took one shot. If Francis catches you one time,
it's over.
You're done.
Yep.
And I just think that it's going to be too hard to get through this fight without getting caught if you're Junior Dos Santos.
I agree.
So that was my thinking. There's another heavyweight fight I want to mention, and that's Maurice Green coming back against Junior Albini.
Hopefully he's dropped a little weight and
he could lose a few pounds.
And then Albini's got the rolled up shorts. That's what he always does.
This is going to be
entertaining.
A comical fight to watch. It should be a fun fight to watch.
But I'm about it.
We both got Junior Albini winning by TKO. I haven't seen Maurice Green lose, but he hasn't fought anyone this caliber.
Yeah, this is a different caliber, even as low as Albini is. So this will be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Moving back up to the welterweight division, Damian Maia is making his return. He's fighting Rocco Martin. I love seeing Damian Maia fight just because it's interesting to see how his opponents deal with him. He's such a specialist to the point where you can't let him get a hold of you or you're fucked. But if you can manage to keep him at distance, you got a good chance to win it.
Yeah, you can bust him up and get the points.
He doesn't have a strong game in striking.
No.
At the same time,
he rarely throws a hard punch. It's mostly a jab or a very slow cross.
To set up a takedown. Right.
Or to get you off your kilter, basically.
Yeah. But people have been successful lately against him. He's still, I think, a top talent in the division, even at his age, near 40, but it's going to be tough. It's a tough matchup for anyone because you have to game plan so hard when you fight Damian Maia, and that's why I like watching him fight. We saw what he did to Jorge Masvidal, who's now at the top of the division. But if he gets a hold of you, it's over. It's a long night.
Yeah, Good found that out in his last fight. It was a younger fight. Yeah, he found out he had a backpack real quick, and then there was a real big problem. He was getting subbed. I know Damian Maia, and I know how dangerous he is. I think the problem is Rocco Martin is also a veteran, but he's a younger veteran. I think he can continue to outlast Damian for the punches and what we just said, just jabbing him up, getting him cut up, being the dominant striker, but not doing any serious damage. And I think Rocco takes the decision.
At lightweight, we got Roosevelt Roberts and Vic Pichel.
What a prospect. I like him.
Yeah, so we both got Roosevelt Roberts as winning this one. And I think he is another strong prospect in the lightweight division.
Another Dana White Thursday night contender, baby. Yeah. It's obviously paying off.
So we both got him in this fight. And then we'll cap it out with a flyweight fight. This is our number one contender, our number two contender, Jussier Formiga and Joseph Benavidez. Benavidez has the last win over Henry Cejudo. But at the same time, this may be the last flyweight fight that we ever watch.
There's the question mark.
The winner of this fight is the number one contender, gets the next fight against Henry Cejudo, but when the hell does that fight happen? What do you do between now and then?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of questions. Unfortunately, this isn't going to answer too many of them. We thought that Formiga's last fight against Figueiredo was going to be a number one contender fight.
That was
he's not fighting for the championship now. He's fighting Benavidez in another number one contender fight.
If you learn anything from our podcast, don't accept our bets and put them in real money because 9 times out of 10 they're not going to work out. Because if you would have told me on paper 1 versus 2 moves up, I would assume so. Didn't fucking happen. But with Benavidez now, this just seems like a filler fight. This is another fight with guys that, hey, they're already up here. We might as well make a fight.
Yeah.
And then guess what?
Before we tell them
to leave anyway. So, yeah, I just think this is a filler. Honestly, Jussier, I think, has been more active and done more impressive things in that division. I got him winning the fight, actually being technical with a sub. I like your bet, too, with Benavidez because he's durable. He knows how to win, and obviously he gave Henry one of his losses. I think either one of these guys, it's just kind of a shame, like we said, this fight's it's kind of a Clay Guida versus BJ Penn. It's here. It's just the difference is this is cream of the crop guys.
Yeah, and these guys have numbers next to their names.
These guys have numbers next to their names and they're not 40.
Yeah.
So,
very low numbers.
That actually makes it sadder.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's
really.
very unfortunate, but I hope it's a fun fight because
what's the carrot in front of these guys? You win this and then you can fight each other again 2 more times before you fight Henry Cejudo. I think
if somebody like Benavidez, who's very aggressive and very mouthy, who also, has been a name in the sport, win this and say, hey, Henry, either come back down here or I'm going to fucking come up to you.
I already got you once. No, and I
already got you once.
Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm really hoping that storyline works because it would make sense. Benavidez is like, I busted your ass. I gave you shit the whole time. I did it. I've been fucking around with all these scrubs. I'm going to come up and show you that I'll come in your weight class and beat you. Or you can come down here.
I really think that is the only road to save the flyweight division. How else do you sell Henry Cejudo fighting in the flyweight, defending that? Or sell it to him. Make him interested in it outside of the last person to beat you. If Benavidez wins this fight, I guess then I could see the flyweight division lasting past 2019 into 2020 because you have the number one contender is the last person to beat the challenger. He deserves that chance to get it back. Also, typically these fighters are looking to get back fights they've lost. I mean, that's you listen to guys. Oh, I want that one back. That's one I got to get back. And I'm sure Henry's the same way. He's a champion. He's a top level fighter, but any loss he's had, he'd love an opportunity to get it back, and he's got to be confident that he would get it back. And for him to make the commitment to go back down to flyweight, I feel like that's got to be the fight. I don't see another fight that he would come back down to flyweight for.
The thing that would have worked out perfect is if Henry didn't have shoulder surgery, and let's say his medical suspension wasn't that bad.
Or Verizon won.
Okay, well, that fucking would have been great for both of us. That actually been perfect. Is say Dana says, here's $1 million for the winnings. Come back down the flyweight, defend your belt, beat or win or lose. Go get your shoulder surgery. 2020, fucking fight somebody at Bantam. Like, that's all it comes down at is you go back and forth or you take the time, but the shoulder surgery now fucked it. Because now, what's going to be next? Exactly this. We're waiting for Benavidez.
And there's going to be 2 divisions waiting.
That's what I'm saying. We're waiting for Benavidez to even know what to do, which there's nothing to do. And then you have in the Bantam that, the guy that was normally down here is up there, still not doing anything. So, it's unfortunate timing. I hope it doesn't take as long as we think. But, Benavidez, you fucking beat this. You say either come down to my land again or I go up to you. That's it.
And that's the thing about, we had mentioned that Henry Cejudo became the 4th champ in the UFC. There has not been a single champ that's defended both belts.
Never.
So, I feel like that's got to be a stipulation if they keep doing these champion versus champion fights. And
he's going to want that.
Because you can't be holding up 2 divisions. You have to be able to dictate that you're defending both belts. Yeah. And injuries set aside, if you got to have shoulder surgery, you got to have shoulder surgery. If you're the champion, when's a better time? Get healthy. I understand that aspect of it. It is unfortunate that because of that you're holding up. It's one thing if Robert Whittaker gets hurt, he has to drop out. You have an interim fight. You come back. You fight. Yep. If Robert Whittaker's holding 2 belts and that happens, it's a disaster.
No. Yeah, and
it's not that bad, but we're getting close to it.
It log jams everything, and that's what potentially we could have happen here, especially since this fight is in 2 weeks. So this isn't really like a situation that we're talking down the road. We're talking right now where we're going to be sitting with one division stale and another stale.
7-8 months before they fight again, if they're getting a title fight.
More like 9 to 10.
If I'm Aljamain Sterling, if I'm the winner of this Formiga-Benavidez fight, what's enticing me to take another fight and lose my spot in line?
Nope.
And not only is it in line, there's 2 lines there that all have the same ending. So it's
lot to lose for not your fault.
Yeah, and I don't see unless you're throwing me a ton of money, it's tough, and that's It's unfortunate, but
It
at
is
the
what
same
it
time,
is.
how much? I mean, it's great to see someone who can be a 2-division champion.
Absolutely.
So
it's great for the sport.
I don't want to discourage it from happening. It's just got to be when it does happen, you got to have a plan to be able to keep things moving.
Yep, I agree.
So those are the next two events, June 22nd, June 29th. We're going to go ahead and watch those, and then we'll get back to you before the July 6th card, which is that Jones and Santos International Fight Week card in Vegas.
Excited for that, baby.
So we see you next time.
See you.